to make sure we had it recorded.
No, no problem. I can wait.
That I'm trying to remember. I actually might have it on this particular site. Let me see here.
Lost your audio, Guy.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I add an element and then I strip it down, then I add stuff back. And I'm like, Carrie said had a good idea. We mentioned that one time and couldn't remember what it was.
Well, I'll do it from memory. And let's see. Okay. Elementor. Okay, when you add a section,
Right.
you go into the advanced settings and give it 20 pixels on the left and right. And then when you add any
padding, right?
padding. And then when you add any columns into the section, you have 20 pixels padding all the way around on every column. Then that's kind of the general rule. But then if you have, if you put a nested element, which would be a section with columns, you don't put any padding at all on the section, and then but then you do put the padding on the columns.
On the parent.
No, on the section, like this would be a nested section. I think I might still have those pages, or because that seems like I did that a long time ago. It might have even seemed like it'd been before we started doing online meetups. You're not local, are you? Where are you located, Guy? I can't remember.
He's here.
I'm Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
So actually, probably in Louisville.
You're in Louisville?
I will be in.
Okay. So did you ever go to one of our in-person meetups?
No, because actually, my family, me and my family moved down to at the end of February last year, just in time for everything to be locked down. So,
well, let me make a note, and because I might have it in a handout or something.
Sure, I just remember you opened with it at some point. It was like talking before one of these meetups, and I could have sworn I typed it out. And I looked through all my notes, and I could. I was like,
okay, I'll see if I can find it.
All right, well, thank you.
Well, hello to everybody that has joined since I've been talking with Guy. We're going to get going here in a couple of minutes. Hey, Karen, good to see you. And hope you're still on the mend.
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey,
thank you.
Good. Richard, Celine, Greg is here from Silicon Valley. So we'll, and we got some more people coming. Hey, Sharon, good to see you.
Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Good, good.
Hey, Sharon.
Hi, Brian.
They think that they need to have. They don't look at it's going to grow up. How are we going to house it?
Okay, let's see here. Okay.
I'm going to mute everyone. I'm going to mute everyone. So if you need to ask a question, just unmute yourself.
Well, it looks like, Guy, that Catherine has a PDF of what we're talking about from Dave Foy. So maybe y'all can trade contact information and she can help you out. So okay, let's try and get this show on the road here. I'm going to do something I normally don't do, just to save screen real estate as I'm working on this. Hopefully you'll still be able to see. I'm not going to make the slides full screen on my desktop, but hopefully when I share the screen, it will get big enough for you to see. So let me do that. I will share the screen. Share screen. I'm going to do that and okay. The heck is that? I want to close that. Okay. Get things moved around. Okay, can y'all see my screen? Okay, good deal. All righty. Well, welcome to the May 13th Gwinnett County, Elementor Gwinnett County meetup. I'm Carrie, and I'm the host, and Brian Griffin, wave your hand, Brian. He's the co-host. We're here to try to help you out and learn new stuff. So tonight we're going to be talking about getting the most out of Elementor Forms. And let me get that going here. The meetup's is 90 minutes long, and let's keep it personal. Let me get this. Got too much light coming in. There we go. So keep your screen on if you're sharing, but if you're not sharing, please keep your mic muted in case there's background noise and that kind of thing. Got dogs barking, children running up down the stairs. And reminder that this is being recorded, so you will, if you don't, but we need to tell you that. And I'll make the recording available tomorrow afternoon sometime. And as we've done the introductions to, I'm Carrie, and you've met Brian. So tonight we're going to as a broad topic, getting the most out of Elementor Forms. We're going to go over a number of things. We're going to review how to make long forms less intimidating to users with the multi-step feature. And we're going to show how to integrate the forms with popular email marketing tools. And we're going to show how you can automate the forms with dynamic tags. And then we're going to review the new submissions feature that has come out, I think, since the last time we had a meetup. And in the interest of trying to make this as open to everyone as possible, we're going to be able to do all this without using any extra plugins. Now you can do some more of this with some plugins, but all we need is Elementor and Elementor Pro to do this. So we're going to start with taking the long form, and I've made this form ahead of time just in the interest of time. Rather than you watch me building a form, I'll go through and show you how it's put together. But we're going to take this form, and it's not a terribly long form. Believe me, I've made forms longer, and I'm sure you have too. But it's long enough to break it into sections that make sense. So we're going to take this form and turn it into this shorter form. And this can be helpful sometimes with, if you had a pretty long form, and somebody looks at it and they go, "Oh, jeepers, I don't have the time to do all that." It's less intimidating. And then there's kind of a little psychological thing going. As they're going through it, they can see they're making progress, and maybe they'll have a better chance or likelihood of actually filling it out. So let's take a look and see what we've got here. Pull this down just a bit. So this is the back end, and this is the form we're going to work on. We're going to take this form and break it down to this. So we got that. We'll go to the Elementor interface. Okay, but before we start doing this, I'm going to let's explore some of the options that you have to work with in a form in the Elementor Forms. Now, there are a lot of tools. There are lots of form tools, and there are some that are more feature rich, to be honest, than Elementor Form Builder. But for some people they can be expensive. And for most of the things that I do, I use a different form builder, just because it has some things that Elementor Forms don't have yet, although I understand they're working on adding a lot of new features. But they've added some features that make it where it could be very useful to a lot of people. So we've got this form right here, and we have these sections: the form fields, buttons, actions after submit, meaning what happens once you hit the submit button, the email, is there going to be an email sent out from this form? We're going to integrate it with Mailchimp. Elementor Forms can integrate with several other email marketing tools, but Mailchimp, again, you can get it for free if you're doing simple stuff. And so I'm going to show you how to do that as best I can, because I haven't really used Mailchimp in about 7 or 8 years, because I use ConvertKit. And then we'll go to the step settings, and we'll really dig into that when we do the steps, break it into steps, and there's some additional options. So let's look at the form fields first. We've got, I've done something a little maybe unusual. I've used the form fields to actually give me my headers here. And what I've done is we'll click on it, and we'll see that it's an HTML type field. And we have a bunch of different types. We can use text, which would be like single line text, email, it's specific to email, text area, like if you have a message box, a URL, telephone number, radio buttons, drop down select, check boxes, acceptance, like if somebody's accepting the conditions of something, numbers, dates, times, you can upload a file, passwords, hidden. We're going to actually use the hidden I believe tonight. And then of course the steps. And then we can have Recaptcha. And when it says Recaptcha, that's for Recaptcha 2. I don't know why they don't have that on there. And then Recaptcha version 3. And the differences are, one is the one that's in the site now is Recaptcha 2, and Recaptcha 3 kind of operates in the background, and it kind of analyzes it and you give a predetermined score as to whether or not it's going to accept it. And then Honeypot, which we'll get into, is very interesting what that's used for. So those are the available fields. So these headers are actually just HTML, and I put in H4 and the name. And I have styled it with the going to advanced in the custom CSS, I just styled it, a certain color, a certain weight, and I made the margin on the bottom 0 so it was not pushed away so far. And so we did the same thing with your needs, select your budget range. And then simple fields, got the first name, it's a text field, the label is first name, placeholders, your first name. You'll notice the description of the field is actually inside the field. And that's what the placeholder is doing in this instance, because I have got it set to where the label is not showing. I've got it on hide, but if I click it here, you'll see it shows the label, but if I hide it, it kind of makes a cleaner kind of form. And so that's what we're doing here. And same thing with the last name. Let me go back up here, close it. You also notice that on the width, it's set to 50% to what way it can go, do half and half. That's way simpler than some other forms. Like if anybody's ever worked with Gravity Forms, you've got some predetermined CSS that you have to drop in there. This is just a lot easier. I like that. And then the last name, email address uses the email field. No surprise there. Website addresses uses the URL field. Yep. And now this is a, well, what have I done here? Make sure here, your need. Oh, this is another one of the HTML tags. This your need, and then we have, this is a radio buttons. Another H4, the actual budget range, which is a select field with these options. And then I mentioned that about the hidden fields, or in the honeypots. We've got two things in this form to try to discourage spam. We have the Recaptcha, and we have the honeypot. And the reason we have both is bots, if you will, the spam bots that fill in your forms with all kinds of stuff, have begun to figure out how to beat this Recaptcha. And the only Recaptcha that seems to not be able to be beat by the forms, or excuse me, beat by the bots, is that annoying thing where you have a picture and it says, and it's broken into squares, and it says, pick a picture that has a bicycle. And some of them you can't hardly see what's going on in it. Or it might have a picture of a traffic scene and it's got the picture cut up into boxes, and it says, pick the boxes that have the traffic light in it. And, so that is annoying. It's annoying to me. But people seem to not be too bothered by this. But this doesn't work for all the bots. So what this honeypot is this is a field that doesn't show. You don't see that on here anywhere. It's not shown. It's hidden. But the bots see it. So they try to fill in the field like it's, they're filling out the field. But the reason that you'll see that I put some text in here that says, if you're human, leave me blank. Because not only bots can read it, screen readers can read it. We don't want to, we try to make it accessible as possible. So that's what that is. And then I've just thrown some spacers in here to make this nice, have a little bit of space around this. And then this is the Recaptcha. And let me show you about the Recaptcha. Some people may not be familiar with how that works. There is I'm going to put this link in the chat. This will be the link to this page that talks about Recaptcha and how to set it up. And I'm going to put that in the chat if I can find it. Chat, here we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. So.
Afraid I won't be able to whistle.
Oh, I think it'll be fine.
Okay, so that will go through there. So you go to get the Recaptcha, you have to have a Google account, like a Gmail account or something like that. And then in Elementor, let's go out of this, exit to dashboard. In Elementor, in their settings and integrations, it actually gives you a link to go to Recaptcha to set up your Recaptcha, and you log into Recaptcha with your Gmail account, and it'll give you a site. You go through the process, give you a site key and a secret key, and you just fill those in there, and that connects you up with that. And then and this is where we'll put our Mailchimp API key, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And you can see these are some of the other integrations for email marketing that Elementor Forms do. There's a Drip, Active Campaign. I used to use that. Get Response, ConvertKit, which is what I use mostly now, and MailerLite, which seems to be getting more and more popular. So hopefully they'll be adding more, but I think that's a good smattering of what's available. So we'll go back to where we were. Okay. Ignore that. And okay, and then I showed you the spacers. So we'll go from there. Then we have buttons, and in this particular case, we just have the one button, and where it's set its size, its width is going to be 100%, and these will be what you want the step buttons to say. Like if you're going from step 1 to step 2, and they're set to say next and previous. You might say, instead of next, you might say continue. Instead of previous, you might say go back. And then this is the submit button. And I've put on this, let's get started. So, and then there's actions after submit. There are 3 actions that go on in this form at the moment. There's the collecting submissions, which I believe is a default. I didn't add that in there. It was already there, as long with email. And then I've added Mailchimp as to contact Mailchimp. And then if you click on this extra plus, you have these other things that you can do. You could send another email, maybe to the user. You could redirect them to, say, a thank you page if you wanted. You could use webhooks, and here are the email marketing. You got Mailchimp, Drip, Active Campaign, and so on. Then you can hook it up to Slack. I'm not familiar with Discord, but what's Discord? Anybody know what Discord is? And I guess we'll discover that at some point in the
Yes,
future.
it's a server that's primarily used by gamers, but you can use it to communicate online with. So you can create a server, invite your friends, and then you can have a little bit of chat room all to yourself for when you're playing games or whatever you're doing. So it's used for more than
Okay.
that, but that's where it came out of.
Yeah, and it's more
Okay, cool.
toy-like to me. It's more like it's aimed at kids.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Learn something new every day. We got then the step settings are what we're going to use numbers and text, and we're going to use the circles. As if you remember, I showed you here, we're going to make the circles, and then additional options. These are your you can set a form ID if you want. Then I have set to use custom message. I was mostly interested in the success message of what to put. So you can write your own custom messages here. So we've gone through that. Now let's turn this into a step. We're going to make it into 3 steps. So what we have to do is go back to our form fields. Okay. So we're going to add a new item, and we're going to make it, in the type, we're going to make it a step. Now, this threw me off when I first did this. Click on step. Well, I take that to be the step, but you got to pay attention. There's the first step at the top. That, I wasn't expecting that. Come on now, behave. Okay. So this is our first step. So we're going to go in here, and you can see that we have step 1, step 2. So I'm going to call this info, because this is going to be your information. And that'll be all I have to do to that. Then I'm going to go down to the other one here, and I'm going to slide. It's going to be for in between your website address and this header here, and it's going to be called needs. So I'm going to call it needs, and I'm going to move it up. Let's see here. We got the website address right there. Okay. So now we've got that step in place. And then I'm going to duplicate that. There we go. And then I'm going to change this label to say budget. And take that. Then I'm going to slide it down to right here. So now we've got our 3 steps. Go back over here to what we were looking at. We see we've got our 3 steps. So now let's style these steps. So we're going to go back up to the top under style. And I'm going to style the steps. And we've got 3 things to style. We could adjust the spacing and the padding. The spacing does that, puts padding underneath, or the padding does this. But we'll just leave those the way they are at this point, and we can do the divider width. It's going to default at 1 pixel, and then the gap that's between the line and the actual little circle. But we'll leave those alone. So we're going to do the inactive, active, and completed. So I've already got some colors picked out here. So I'm just going to paste those in. And that will be our blue that we're using up in the logo here and in the header are going to be the blue color, and we go to active, and then the active, the primary color is going to be white. I'm just going to drag that on over there, and then I've got a color picked out for the other color for it, the secondary color. Sure that's right, I think that is. So we'll do that, and then we'll go to the completed, and have a color for completed, and we're going to show this right here. Okay, so let's update. And then we'll take a look at it. So we've got that. And now we have this. So we can start filling out information. Oops. John, gmail.com. Not being terribly original here. And this will require them to put in a valid URL. HTTP and HTTPS work fine. I'll just say Elementor. Trying to get our issue here. Okay, so we go here. Let's see, I need some website development. Go here, and let's say my budget's $5,000 to $10,000. I'm not a robot, and let's get started. Oh darn. I hate it when that happens. I've tested this thing so many times. What's interesting is it delivers the mail, but doesn't go into. Let's go back. Well, without having to go through and troubleshoot all this, let's see if I can think of a way to well, I'm going to have to prevail upon you, just in the interest of time, to assume that that worked. I promise you it was working earlier today, because you can see I've been running tests on it, and I've run through all these forms. And so that kind of throws a monkey wrench into things.
Hey, Carrie,
But let me,
it had a
go ahead.
Mailchimp. It had a Mailchimp error. Did you check to see if your Mailchimp settings were added? I'm guessing you already
Yeah,
did that before. Because
Yeah.
I don't see the.
yeah, I actually, that form before I started making it into the step form was working fine. The Mailchimp settings are, the API key is what is put in, and I'll go through that real quick. Because if we want to integrate this with Mailchimp, I was going to show you just real quick. I'm by no means an expert on Mailchimp, as I mentioned at the outset, that I used Mailchimp years and years ago, but it's grown to a lot more. And I currently use ConvertKit, but if you have a Mailchimp account and you click on your picture here and go to your account, click on extras and go API keys, you can create a key, and you just fill in the information, and then it will give you your API key, and you just cut and paste that into your you go to your Elementor settings and integrations, just right in here. So that does that. Let's go back. And so into Mailchimp. And then this is for the audience, because I just signed up for a free account for this demo. You only get one audience, so that's the audience. And then I set up a couple of let's go back to this.
You were in the right place in the audience. You set up a couple of tags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to show the tags that I set up the tags for newsletter sign up and for services inquiry. And then that's where, because with the API key in place, Elementor's talking to Mailchimp, and it would automatically, if I had a paid account, I would theoretically have more than one audience, and I could choose which audience, and I could choose a group, but I can apply tags. And so for this particular form, it's tagged with service inquiry, which we can see in the contacts.
So in each of those tags, you have the same field set up, because you do have to match the fields to.
Say that again, Sharon.
So normally in Mailchimp, you have to have a sign up form to match the same fields that you're filling out on your email, on your Elementor form. So do you have that set up?
Well, there's, I have them set up here.
Okay.
And actually it will, and this was, and these are for ones that were.
That you tested earlier?
Well, these were ones for the newsletter sign up, which is another form that we're going to go through here to show how something else. Because all we're collecting here is first name, last name, and email address. And let's look at that. That's actually in the footer. I don't want to get ahead of myself here.
Yeah, I don't want you to go off track. I just wonder what you have comparison, but looks like you've got everything set up in both sides.
So, one thing I didn't mention, let's go back to Mailchimp. Darn it. You also can set it up to double opt-in if you want. That so that they fill out the form and they get an email that shows them, it says we're just confirming that you want to sign up for this, and they click yes, and then it notifies Mailchimp and it confirms it and makes it real. That's another way to get around if somebody's signing up for something, to get around the bots. Excuse me. And then you do the field mapping, because these are the fields that these are coming from Mailchimp. So we go over here. You can see up here, first name, last name, web address, services needed, budget. And we can see that here. These are coming from our forms. So they're mapping. When somebody puts in their first name here, it will map to this in Mailchimp. So that's how that deal works. And okay, we're going to look at this form down here. And this is actually in the footer. And let's look at the form fields. And we just have first name, last name, and email. And then this is the other hidden field, which is the honeypot. Can't see it, but the bots can see it. And I didn't put a Recaptcha on it just because it was, just what didn't look good. So I left it off. So we go to what I want to do is imagine that you have some kind of event coming up and you have a membership site and people are going to sign up for the event. Maybe you're going to do a webinar for your members. Well, you can have it to where this sign up for logged in members only will actually pre-populate with their information. And I'll show you how to do that. So we have the first name, click on it, and we click on advanced. And then there's the dynamic tag icon that we can use dynamic tags. And so we click on this, and these are all the possibilities built into Elementor of dynamic tags that we can use. If you use advanced custom fields, you can have tons of them. And there's some other plugins like dynamic. It's got the red D with the 3 dots in it. I can't remember how the dynamic content for Elementor or something like that. And then there's the plus add-ons for Elementor that have a whole lot of dynamic tags that you can add. But these are the ones that are just built into that come with Elementor. And we're going to use user info. And so now we've got user info, but there's all kinds of information associated with the user info. This is the kind of information that's in, if you go to your list of users, it's got their name and their username, their email address, first name, last name, if it's been put in. So we're going to click on this wrench, and we're going to choose, so I'm going to use first name. And you see it's populated with my first name. You could also put in some before and after text if you want, but that's not necessary in this case. So we're good with that. So, and then we're going to go to last name and go to advanced. And this is just exactly the same deal. Go down to user info, click on the wrench, choose last name, boom, it's going to show up there. And then we got our email, advanced, dynamic tags, user info, and choose, and email. There it goes. So if I'm a user and I'm logged in and I see this thing, it might not be a newsletter, it might be, like I said, a webinar or an event, or maybe signing up, getting early on the list for a new course or something. When I look at this page, it could be a landing page. It's going to already have my information filled out. So I don't even have to fill it out. I just have to hit the sign up button. So we can see now that we've got this set up this way, it automatically populates. I'm going to update this, and this is in Elementor. Let's look at the front end. Okay, see, it's got it populated. But you're wondering, is it really working right? Hopefully this one will work right. I'm going to log out. And then we're going to go back to, let's see, the overview. This is my hosting company. We're going to look at the front end again. And go to Elementor Form Demo. Now it's back to your first name. But if I log in, reload it, it's got my information in there. And log out, reload. Did I log out? Nope, I didn't. It's back to the default. Okay, so that one worked. And for more information on all the different tags that you can use, there's a page in the Elementor help area. Right here, I'm going to put the link for that in chat. Where's chat? Here we go. So if you're interested in that. And let's see what else we got. And then just to round out this first hour, I was going to just kind of go over some of this new feature that Elementor has added with the form submissions. You probably have heard about it, or maybe even seen it on your own site. If you go click on Elementor, and now they've got this new section called submissions. And you can see all these are ones that I was testing earlier today. And there's only 2 forms. There's the newsletter sign up form and the Elementor form, but you can sort by forms. You could, let's see, so all forms and my different versions of the form. And you can see that this one is not bold. That means I've read it. If I want to make it unread, I can go, but mark it as unread. I clicked it again. Okay. It goes back to bold. I can see it for different periods of time. This wasn't working that great earlier in the day. See, today that's wrong, because all those that you saw, well, not all of them, but some of them were today. And of course, the one that I tried to send out earlier that didn't work is here. Let's see what it says, if it tells me what the problem was. No, I don't see it. Doesn't say what the problem was. Just the server error, which is not terribly helpful. So let's go back to submissions. And probably the most helpful thing about this is that you can export your data to a CSV file. And that's very helpful. I have a customer, it's for a fall festival, and they have these long forms that their customers have to fill out, or vendors rather, for like the food vendors and the arts and craft vendors. And it's a very long, pretty long form. And it's all transferred. It's transferred to using a form called, I think it's Adaptic. It's an older site using Contact Form 7. This Contact Form 7 to DB, basically, I think is what the plugin's called. It's not available in the repository. It's in GitHub, and it exports it to a CSV file. So this could be very helpful. And you could choose which form you want the data for, and then you could export it to a CSV file. And so there you go. So let's see what we got here. We've done this. We've talked about the API key. I'm going to give you this one too, about creating an audience if you're not familiar. And so we've got that. We've done the dynamic tags, and we talked about the subscriptions. Okay, well, I apologize for the bumpy ride, but we've pretty much got through it all. Let's see here. Does anybody have any questions about this or something else, Elementor? And we can kind of open it up to, let's
Carrie,
share.
I do have a question regarding the fields for the forms in Elementor. Is there a way to set maximum characters or minimum characters for a field? Let me give the example. As a lot of the regulars know, I'm in the process of rebuilding some websites, and our current websites have a lot of spam. So let's say I had a field where it said describe your project, and they only key, well, I've noticed a lot of the bots never key in that field. They never put any information in there. So if I required maybe 50 characters or so that have to be typed in, is there a way to do that? I did see where you could obviously choose, you know, text, content or numbers or the such, but is there a way to set a minimum characters that has to go into a field? Or it'll error out basically if you don't enter in that maximum number.
I don't think so. If anybody knows different, please raise your hand or say, say something. That would be in a situation to where you would have like a text area, wouldn't it?
Correct.
So let's go to I'm going to get rid of these steps. Give me a sec here.
Brian, did you say the bots don't fill it out?
Yeah, the bots never fill out. So on my contact form, if I could remember, it has the basic stuff: name, phone number, email. They'll fill that out. Phone number is always an international number. That's always a giveaway. But in the, for sake of conversation, the tell me more section, there's never anything there. So I even have customers, legitimate customers. I'll probably get about 2 or 3 legitimate customers a week that don't fill it out as well. So I never know. So now I've gotten in the habit of, I can kind of tell, but I'm really not sure until the person replies back and it's a true to life human being on the other.
If nothing else,
No.
you can make it a required field, but
yeah, well, they're all required. Well, you're exactly right. I apologize. I could definitely make it a required field. That would be easy. But even I was even thinking further than the required field. And I apologize, Guy, I should have mentioned that. I was thinking, okay, yes, I could easily make it required, but the name and phone number is required. They're putting information in there. So what is the next step? The next step would be, okay, let's have some minimum characters in there. So they don't just put hi or whatever, just to get the form.
I don't think so. Not in Elementor Forms. And I don't know that I've ever seen a minimum character. I've seen maximum characters. I believe you can do that in Gravity Forms.
You've never filled out a form? You never filled out a form where it said, not enough information? Or I have rarely. I've come across them, but
No, most of the ones I've seen when it comes to character count, you'll start writing in the text area, and you might see something that says, as you type in characters, there'll be a number, say 52 of, or it might say, as you type, the number goes down because it's counting down from say 500
to 0.
But I don't think I've ever seen a minimum character count. Has anybody ever seen that?
Yes, if I could jump in. Hang on, I'll
Sure.
show my face even.
Wow.
It's Sue. Hi.
Hey. Hi.
So the other night I wrote a review on, I think it was a shopping website, or maybe it was an open table for a dinner, and it wouldn't let you just say this was a great experience. There was a minimum, I think, of 50 characters, but it was a form for a review. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it was open table or something similar, but I haven't seen that on like a submission form for a regular website. This was for a review form.
Right.
There is an HTML, I don't know what you call it, but it's min length, and it will require you to put in a minimum length. It's MINLENGTH.
Yeah, but then you would have to write out the whole HTML form.
You would have to do it, but it is it is possible to do.
So Brian, the dynamic content for Elementor has that for the form field.
Okay,
So
they do have that option.
Yeah, it's called field length for Elementor Pro form.
Okay, and you just set that field length to a certain number of characters.
Yes, it has a minimum and a maximum character length available.
Thank you.
So
thank you,
that's
everyone.
dynamic content for Elementor, right?
Yeah, and so dynamic content for Elementor sometimes requires Elementor Pro, so make sure you do have it to make it work.
Yeah, and this is I'm gonna share my screen for a sec. This is what Sharon's talking about. This has tons of dynamic stuff. And this was one of the, I think I mentioned it before. Let's see. You know where it is in the list of stuff? Sharon, it sounds like you've used this before.
Oh, yeah.
Tags.
So if you just, it's under the widget and then extension, there's for Elementor. If you go to the extension, not the widget, I'm sorry. Next to the widget, see for the top one for Elementor Pro form.
Gotcha.
Those are all the options that have been added.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have quite a few options. Even they've got Stripe and PayPal buttons in here now. There's a lot of stuff that have been added here.
Jeez Louise.
I was making the point to Brian. I said, I'm not, you know, when you mentioned that they're going to probably update Elementor Forms in the future, and I'm not so sure how much work they're going to do because of all this work that's been done already. In the
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I was unaware. I mean, I haven't really looked at this tool probably for somewhere between 6 months and a year, and I don't remember that they had all this before.
No, it's been very recent. It's been very recent.
Field length. There you go.
Yep.
I think one of the challenges about this particular tool, though, it doesn't have a whole lot of documentation.
Yeah, you have to definitely play with it or see if there's some type of video, which there's not a lot of videos. There's only videos for like the widgets. The extensions I can pretty much figure out, but they only do videos on something that I guess is kind of a new feature or something.
Okay, Brian, can you see that? Of course, you can probably go to the page yourself. It has maximum length characters, minimum character length.
Yes, sir.
So there you go. There
Thank
you go. That's why we come to these meetups, because there's always somebody that knows the answer. Very
Absolutely.
good.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Sharon.
What did I do that? Let's see. What is that? Okay. All right. Let's see. We don't stop sharing. Anybody else? We got about 20, 25 minutes.
Hi, my name's Celine. I have a simple question.
Okay.
So for example, with the forms, I have a client that is interested in sending, so when they send the form, they want it sent to 3 different people. Is there a way specifically on Elementor to send it directly to all 3 people without having to CC one or BCC the other?
Well, let's look at the settings and see. Yep. You see where it says, well, let me share my screen here real quick. Okay, can you see the screen here? Okay, got it. So here's the email to. If I put my cursor there, it says separate emails with comma. So I could, that was a period. Didn't say separate the emails with a period, it's a comma. And then just type in, you know, bob@gmail.com. Sue@gmail.com. And so on and so forth. So
I added a space in there, and I think that's what was maybe triggering, making a difference in there after the comma. Because I did test it out
Well-
that way, and I wasn't sure if that was what was giving me the issue.
Well, you know, different applications, I've not done this on this particular tool but different applications, some don't care if there's a space and some do. So maybe you could try it with no space and see what happens. But that's what it says, separate emails with commas. So
Thank you so
give that a
much.
shot.
Will
Oh,
do.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Sometimes it's not just that. Sometimes it could be your server SMTP settings. Sometimes they block more than one because they consider it spam.
Damn, yeah.
So you
Yeah,
might have to
well,
check that.
yeah, that would, although, have you run into that, Sharon, with just 2 or 3? Or I can see that, I know that they do that, like, you know, if you're sending 50.
Well, it just depends. Like the WooCommerce. So WooCommerce even has that setting. Like I have a client that there's 2 owners, and both owners want to get the email for every new order, but I can't set it. The SMTP only allows one.
Really?
Email. Yes. So I had to kind of do a workaround on my server to create a dummy account called, orders at blah, blah, blah. So now I use orders, but both of them receive a message. So there's an alias account but both of them get a copy. So you kind of almost have to figure out a way around your SMTP. You just look at the rules and see what they allow. So that may be an issue because normally with WordPress, they only want to see it coming from the admin that you have on your setup, or another one that is set up in your SMTP. So you have to check all those areas.
Okay. So what SMTP do you use? Do you use like a plugin or service for your SMTP?
Yes, sort of. So I work with A2 hosting company, and I do have that one for mailing from my websites do have to have an SMTP. So I have for years used Mailchimp like you, but then I ran into an application that I really liked because instead of going to Mailchimp all the time, I could just stay in WordPress and do everything from there. It's called MailerLite.
Right.
The one that y'all just and so I can do all my emails and everything from there. And they actually have an SMTP. If you use MailerLite, you don't even have to get an additional plugin because they have an SMTP feature already included into that. So that's
okay, and it will allow you to send to multiple email addresses, or is that a setting?
I said, but it's a separate setting, but yes, it does allow me to do that.
Okay.
So it's a matter of research, Celine. A lot of times you're trying to do something, but there's something blocking you, and you just have to research. Well, why is that? Why is that? And you have to dwindle it down to who's blocking it. Is it the server, or is it WordPress, or is it SMTP?
I just tested it out. It was the space that was giving me the issue. So I took the space off and I got it. Thank you.
Good deal. Well, you've made our night, Celine, that we can help one person. That's worth the trouble. So now you can go out and make your millions. Okay. Any other questions or things that you might want to see? Doesn't have to be on forms.
So, Carrie, are you going to announce the new Elementor events?
Yeah, Brian and I were talking about that, and we had trying to think about how to say this. The meeting about it a couple of weeks ago, or about 3 weeks ago, and a meetup, and I wasn't able to attend. Brian was able to attend. I was in the middle of a job, and couldn't make it. You know, the training on the new setup.
Yeah.
So I might turn that over to you and Brian about basically what we're talking about is in the coming months, we will move away from being on Zoom to something called, it'll be on a platform that.
Well, actually, we're moving away from
Meetup. We're moving away from Meetups.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
well, moving away from Meetup and Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Because the Zoom will be replaced by something called Bevy, and Meetup will be replaced by something that's it's part of what they're building out called the Elementor Hub, and what are they calling the place where they meet up?
Meetup.
It's called Meetup inside the platform.
Yeah.
Okay.
Darren's laughing like I was laughing. Well, why are we going to call it meetups from meetups? But
yeah, it's kind of confusing because no copyright issues. Yeah. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if they're going to keep the name Meetup. I think they're going between Elementor Events, which is what the labels our artwork says, right, Brian? All the artwork I've seen, it says Elementor Events. Correct. So just to not cause confusion, I think you should just call it Elementor Events so that we don't get it confused with the actual meetup.
Yeah. But
go
ahead, Karen.
I was just going to say, as I mentioned, I wasn't able to attend, and I was looking for a recording of the meetup with the Elementor leaders, and I found something that was supposed to be it, but I think that they had got, because it's in beta right now, and it wasn't the right video. It's actually a video with you, Sharon.
Oh no! Oh yeah, that was
giving. It was you were doing a thing on Elementor and WooCommerce.
Oh no!
And but anyway, we're gonna try to get with the people at Elementor to find that recording so I can take a look at it. But it's going to be something that's going to be rolled out incrementally, I guess, over the next 3-4 months. 3 months maybe.
Well, I think they want everybody on it by July, right, Brian?
Yeah, they kind of want us to migrate. So we'll basically be, for everyone that's on the call, we'll be migrating from Meetups as our main hub of disseminating out information. We'll still be able to use Meetups for a couple of months, but we will be migrating to the Elementor Hub that Carrie was just mentioning. So that's where everyone will have to sign up. It's real simple. I think you can even use your same Meetup credentials, but you'll have to actually have a login there.
No, you can't use your Meetup credentials. You use your Elementor.
You're correct. Your Elementor credentials.
Yes.
Yeah. If you already have Elementor Pro, you have Elementor logins, and you can use those. If you don't have Elementor Pro, you can create a free login on this site when we show it to you or give you the URLs for it. Do I have that right, Brian and Sharon?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Because when I first saw it, the first time I went in to look around, it mentioned your Elementor Pro login, and I thought, are they only going to let Elementor Pro people in? Because that wouldn't be good. But then I saw later that it mentioned that you don't have to have Elementor Pro. You can just create an account for free. So.
Yeah. Even guests that don't even use Elementor can sign in. So if they're curious.
Yeah. But they're building a hub that has all kinds of stuff like actually it's called forum.elementor, I think is the URL for it.
Yeah, I think they're kind of wanting to replace everything. Meetup, Facebook. I don't even know if they're on Instagram, but anyway, all the social forums, they're wanting us to have one hub, and that's the Elementor Hub.
Correct.
So we're going to be doing all of our meetings from that hub. Any conversations you want to have, like questions about how something works, whatever, they want all that to, go through that hub.
And it'll have, and it eventually will have a robust knowledge base there as well. So like Sharon mentioned, there's a lot of people who utilize the Facebook group.
Yeah.
We'll be migrating a lot of that to the Elementor Hub. So you'll have that one place for everything. That's the idea.
Yeah, and their idea is just to build this huge community, instead of us being all in these separate locations. They're trying to bring it all into one location for the Elementor community.
Yeah, and they're trying to make it more manageable, and I'm not sure how they're planning on doing that, because they've had a real difficult time with managing the Facebook group well, because there's a ridiculous amount of people in the Elementor Facebook group. It's like 100,000 people or something.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And so, it's almost impossible for moderators to moderate. There's just too many people. So I don't know how they're going to address that kind of thing, if they're going to break it down into topics or.
Yeah, they have a lot of topics in the forum area. I don't know if you went in, Brian, as a beta tester, but I went in there and did a few items. It's just like one of the, I'm guessing, one of the old forums we used to use a long time ago. So it's going back to forums instead of Facebook. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not on the, committee with that, but I don't know what I do understand their whole idea of trying to build a community instead of us being in all of these different places. And they're trying to bring it all into one location.
Into one central, like it's called a hub. And that does make sense, because, if I've rarely gone on the Facebook group, even though I know it's there, and it's for the same issue that you just mentioned, which is there's so many people there. If you post a question, there's going to be 1,000 submissions behind it, and your question never gets seen by anyone because it gets pushed out to so many submissions. So I think their overall intention is to be more accessible to, the type of people who are on our calls that need assistance, and they have a one central place to now get it. And it's called Elementor Hub.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think and chime in if you have something further or clarification, but I think there'll be some aspect of the hub that will help with Elementor support, because Elementor has had some issues with, be honest, doing a great job with their support. And they're working hard to try to find a way to do better in terms of, not being a week before you hear a response to your question, or if you're having a problem. There's some element of support in the hub, from what they told you at the meetup or whatever last month. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Again, all of this, I don't know all the, I think I remember, oh gosh, give me his name, Brian, I forgot his name already. Not Vito.
Verity?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think I saw a post that they were hoping like the end of July to have everything available. So I don't know if they're going to meet that deadline, but they did have like more than like certain phases. And I think this goes all the way through 2022, right, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah. So eventually everything will be there.
Okay. So everybody keep an eye out. Brian and I will have to talk about it. I suspect probably next month we'll do it again on Meetup and Zoom, but after that we'll go to the new way.
And I do know
because
I'm sorry, Carrie. I just wanted
Go ahead.
to watch out for this. So, because I did a test setup and everything for my group, but I do know when you do your first, like even if you're doing a test event, it's going to show up on Meetup on the regular
Correct.
Meetup page. So now you've duplicated what's already there. So I've had to like go back in and tell everybody, do not use this to RSVP. So you might want to be aware of that. When you're doing a test, it's going to show up on Meetup and it's going to duplicate your current event or whatever is on there. So I've had to kind of write the words into the elementary event that this is just a test, do not use, so that they RSVP to the correct one. Because like my next one is, you know, it's always later than you guys. It's next week. And so I'm the last, I think I'm the last one that does the presentation of the month. So I'm like been attending everybody's meeting to see how they're announcing this, but it will cause some confusion. And you'll also get extra email from people signing in. So when they sign into the group as well, your email box is going to be smothered. And but I think they're trying to fix that part. I don't know when it's going to be fixed, but they're trying to fix it. So, but not you guys.
It sounds like a swell time.
I know. Yeah. So not the rest of you, just the leaders will get all the email, not you guys.
Yeah.
So, but you know, help us out by signing up, going to get your name into the group and sign up. And that way it's less work for us to do when we actually have to move everybody over. And that's going to be interesting because although they told us how they're going to do that, I'm still not understanding how they're integrating with Meetup. So,
well,
yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, and from what I saw in the events, the event tutorial, it's really just a checkbox. You either check to send it to meetups or check to not. So I don't know how long that will be available. I assume that it would just be during the transition period, but right now it's just a checkbox. It's just a checkbox, and then it'll duplicate it on meetups. And Carrie, we obviously will have to do that. You know, we only had 22 participants out of our 100 members we have. So, you know, people who don't attend now, they're not going to know about it. So when we do start,
maybe we'll have to create a video explaining it and then mail the link to the whole member list.
That's smart.
This is
oh, they are calling it meetups. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It says events in the URL, but this, let me go.
Yeah, I don't think they need to be calling it meetups. That's just my personal opinion, so don't go taking that to heart.
But this is where we will show up when we are in this platform.
Carrie, you can even go to our group. You can use the search feature.
Right. You can go to groups, and you can go to
no, type in Gwinnett.
Yeah.
You can type in Gwinnett.
Oh, this is searching. Okay.
While you're doing that, Carrie, let me just say to everyone that, as you can see, you can attend almost any group meeting that way without having to sign up like we do in Meetup. Like if you're attending multiple events, you have to actually go and sign up for those multiple groups, right? In Meetup. Well, in here you don't, because you're an elementary user. You can attend any of the events worldwide, you know, if you want.
Well, that's a good thing. I mean, it makes it easier. Now, how would there be some group members?
So when you log in, Well, actually, I think when you just hit events.elementor.com, you're going to be hit with a login request.
I think I was already logged in
You're all
earlier
already
today
logged. Correct.
Yeah,
because I'm so
it looks
okay.
like, when you're hooking up Elementor to your WordPress, it looks exactly like that. It's gonna recognize you when you hit that, and it's gonna tell you to log in or create an account, either one.
Just out of
Let's go back.
curiosity, does everyone on the call have Elementor Pro, or are they Elementor free user? And you can just type in your answer in the chat box. Just curious.
A lot of pro users, yay.
Okay, well, this is Angela's up in Boulder.
Because she has events. I think she just started. She was one of the first adopters, so I know she's
Yeah, Angela.
But it looks like she's still using Zoom.
Yeah, we're allowed to use Zoom because, like, for instance, my May event this month, I did not, because Tally wanted me to go ahead and use Elementor for my May event. And I told her, well, no, my speaker, I have a speaker scheduled for my event, and I did not want to confuse her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's actually a disabled person, so I did not want to add any extra.
Yeah.
Any more stress. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, because there is going to be a learning curve learning the Bevy platform, and compared to Zoom. We've been Zooming for the last year, so
right.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody.
Yeah, and those first few months of using Zoom were kind of it was before Brian was part of the package, and trying to do that all myself, I'd get to where I get all flustered and say, well, lose track of where the chat was and where it was, it took a while to kind of figure all that stuff out, but yeah, there's going to be a learning curve, and it's going to be interesting. We'll just call it that.
Yeah.
So, but y'all have gotten a sneak peek that maybe a lot of people haven't. So we'll keep you posted, and when we know something more specifically, we'll put together maybe put together a video explaining how it all works, and then post it on YouTube, and you
Gary,
send it. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but can you share that link for our pro users, since they already have logins there? They can use their same Elementor Pro login, and they can go poke around and look around.
Let me see if I can get. I'll go back to the very beginning. Make sure that. Is this what you're talking about? This is the forum.elementor.
No, put events.elementor.com. Yeah.
Well, you put it earlier in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, it did? Okay,
I
perfect.
put it in there. Yeah.
Richard Free.
Okay.
There was a Richard Free put the address in there.
Okay, thanks, Richard.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott. Guy.
Sure.
Okay. So, and let me log out and see what happens. So I log in. And
Just
they just let me back in with it.
I just did it. You know how you add your license to a new WordPress site?
Yeah.
It looks like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Except it says
Yeah,
Bevy,
yeah.
and then that thing, and then to your whatever email address your user is.
Right.
So.
The name Bevy is going to go away. I don't know what they're going to name it yet, but they're trying to come up with a name. But Bevy is just the tool behind the whole product that they're using.
Yeah. Yeah, as I understand it, Bevy is all of this. And
Yeah.
every section, you know, the groups, the events, so on and so forth. All righty, everybody. I appreciate so much input today. Many of you have been very, very helpful, and I appreciate that. It's good to have more than just one or two people sharing, and the future is going to be interesting. And, you know, like the old Chinese proverb, may you have your future be interesting. So
Absolutely.
So
thanks everyone for attending.
Yeah, we respect your time, and thanks for coming. And what's the old saying? We'll see you on the flip side. So thanks for
Bye,
coming.
everyone.
Thanks, Gary.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.